For those of you that are familiar, I love analogies, as you know, so I'm going to use a sport analogy. In football, when I was athletic training for volleyball and women's softball, you'd have a game plan for a certain team. Your opponent. Your opponent is test number one, and that game is Wednesday. And you have a game plan to prepare for that team. But the day before, a couple days before the game, you do a walkthrough. You just kind of make sure we're all on the same page. You don't throw the game plan in the day before the test, in this case. So what I'm clarifying is what I can do and what I cannot do. You come to my office and say, I need some help, no problem. I am going to quiz you on basic things that you should know from the game plan building up to Wednesday. What is a sagittal plane? What axis is perpendicular to a transverse plane? Basic plays. If you don't know the basic plays, you haven't done enough to prepare, and we are wasting our time. And at my age, I'm really trying to get out of wasting my time. Now, that doesn't mean you still can't prepare. Go rewatch the videos. Go study. Go study the basic definitions of things. I can't make you learn the basic words. Hey, we're going to call this this, and we're going to call that that. I can help clarify concepts. But please do not, it's unfair to you and it's unfair to me, come to my office sometime during this day and say, I don't understand any of it. Because I may have two people waiting to just do a little walkthrough of understanding. Fair? Fair, okay? That's my office, and those are my office hours. For those of you that can't see or you forgot your Hubble Space Telescope this morning, I'll read it. It's Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 to 7:30 in the morning, 9:30 to 11. I go get my boys, I drop them off at home in Maurice, and then I drive all the way back here to do 2:15 to 5:15. If nobody's in my office by 5 o'clock, I'm going to watch my boys do a little martial arts, all right? So don't come at like 5:14. Come by 5. And that way we can have 15 minutes to spend together before we head out, all right? I will be in my office. I don't know the set schedule on Tuesday, but I need to write your test. I haven't written your test yet. I never write the test until the last minute, the day before, because I want to use analogies that we use in class, and I want to use good questions you guys have and use those in context in class. But again, if you come to my office tomorrow and you knock and I answer and you say, I have no idea who we're playing, I don't have any about what's our game plan, can you help me? I'm going to say, well, you need to start by helping yourself. Go to Moodle and start watching lectures. Fair? Cool? All right. I cannot ask, we're about to do a review, you guys lead the review, okay? So we got a lot of plays. I can't answer things like, will you? I don't know what I will do, but I can ask things like, can you? Can you ask this? Or how would you ask this? I can clarify things like that. But questions like, will you? I don't know yet. I haven't written it. Did you? I don't know yet. I haven't written it. Can you? All day long I can answer stuff like that. All right? Okay, we're good? All right. Who wants to break the ice and ask the first question for our review? Let me ask you a question. Has anybody gone back and rewatched some of the videos? It's the same thing we talk about here, right? And also I posted an understanding check that my students made that are helping me kind of revamp the materials in this class. So I posted that onto the old Moodler, okay? Was everybody okay? I say everybody okay, what a generalized statement. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend. The video that I recorded Thursday for Friday, no problem with that at all. Sound was okay, content, pretty basic. Here are the bone classifications. Here are their strengths. Remember, purpose. That's how we kind of look at bones. Purpose. What do they do well? What do they serve? First question.
Would you say that you want us to know like every single bone in the body and be able to identify like what type of bone it is, or like how far in depth do you want us to go with bones and joints?
Sure. Good question. And I'm going to try to answer it with some examples. Bones that, first of all, you should know classifications and what those classifications do best. Like an analogy might be a shooting guard position should be able to shoot the ball well. A center position should be able to get some rebounds. Just purpose of the positions. Long bones, great for facilitating movement. Those are the swinging bones. Short bones, dissipation of force and summation of movement. In fact, the dissipation of force is because they kind of summate movement. They can shift and glide. Flat bones, protection. And yes, sometimes these flat bones have secondary functions that make them subclassifications of flat bones, like patellas and sesamoid bones. And then irregulars, those are all the weirdos. I guess I'm an irregular bone of humans, this human spectrum. Okay? What I won't ask you, malleus, incus, stapes, don't care. You should know what a humerus is, or a femur, or a tibia, or a fibula, right? Like our basic long bones. I'm not going to get in now. Eventually, when we get into specific joints, we're going to go over those bones. You're going to need to know those bones. But for the first test, I'm hoping that with like a biology lab, they taught you what a right humerus, right ulna, left ulna, right radius, left radius. Okay? So in terms of classification, got to know what they do best. And then in terms of identifying specific bones, give me the long ones. Give me the ones that you probably or hopefully know, if not through lab, but in the common long bones. Cool?
Give an example on what could have like the triaxial, or how do you say it? Like I know.
It sounds like somehow the Legend of Zelda. The triaxial. Sorry, the Legend of Zelda.
But like I understood how something can have one axis and one plane can move, or move it in two ways, but how can something move in 6 different ways across the axes?
So notice you can potentially move 6 different ways, but you can't move all 6 ways at the same time. You move kind of 3 at a time. That's like saying I can go east and west on I-10 at the same time, right? Maybe if I get pulled apart, but I kind of have to go east or west. So let's use a baseball as an analogy, okay? So this baseball, and this represents this. Yeah, this represents this, okay? Womp, 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 womp. So a baseball, womp, womp, womp. Gravity's undefeated. Anterior, posterior axis. The baseball can spin frontal plane. Okay. Bilateral axis. Baseball can spin sagittal plane. Polar axis. Baseball can spin transverse plane. I'm going to flex my elbow because it makes it easier to see. Does that make sense? So,
I think I was interpreting it as like the different axes on that axes on what.
correct. So, absolutely. So, a uniaxial, so the key, and I know this is semantics, a uniaxial joint, singular. So, a joint can be uniaxial. a biaxial joint, like the wrist, or a triaxial joint, sagittal, frontal, transverse, at the same place.
Okay.
So like all three axes, and that's like the traditional view of planes and axes of the person. All three planes and axes intersect, but that's if how the person can rotate their whole body, like they were a rigid link, and they can. But all of those three things intersect at the center of mass, the rigid link. So the humerus represents kind of like if we had that traditional plane and axes, but we had it here, and it could do this, it could do this, and it could do this, all in the same place.
So would you say that your hip is try your knees and your ankles by?
Great question. Don't need to know this for this first test, but my hip is tri because it follows the same rules. We're going to get into that in more detail. I'm going to teach you how the knee is a modified hinge because the knee can do something when our knee is flexed that our elbows can't. There's a reason for that. And my ankle is uni because this isn't happening in the same place as this. Just to answer your curiosity, won't be on the first test, but I can tell you're curious and it's not going to get in the way of any more information. The ankle and subtalar joint is an inverted skateboard where the ankle is the wheels and the subtalar is the wobble to help our balance. So when you're on a skateboard, how you kind of wobble back and forth to help you balance. That's what that is. But they're happening in two different places. Next up, did that answer that question about the awesome? You're welcome. Right side of the class.
Can we ask questions about, let's say, for instance, you want to show the picture of the guy rolling the ball. Can you ask us each motion of his, like from shoulder to elbow to wrist?
I'm showing a picture.
Like,
Okay.
you're going to show a picture of the complete action?
I can't show I know what you mean, but this is answering a question within a question. It's a great question. But if I show, let's say I have a picture here. It's just one picture, right? So like for me to be able to show pictures throughout the entire range of motion, I need like video of the whole range of motion,
So
right?
like your soccer picture you're talking about?
Correct. So what we can do is a fixed picture, and I say, where are the joints positioned, just in sagittal concept, so we're not doing rotation stuff, we're not doing abduction stuff. Is the knee flexed? Is the hip flexed? Is my elbow flexed? Right? If we were going to assess motion, it would be a fixed picture, and then I would say, and this is all in Unit 1. How did I have to move to get there wherever I'm at in the picture from anatomical? Or if I started in the picture, how would I have to move to go back to anatomical? And then the other way is a before and after picture, where I start out, it's not the picture, but it's a simple one where the first picture the person is here and the next picture they're there. And I say, how did the knees have to move to go from here to there? Well, they had to have bilateral knee extension. Since I started in a flex position and I ended in anatomical, the only way to get there is to have extension. But on the first test, I'm not going to be like, what's this? Right? The first test is meant to practice our verbiage of where is the joint at and how must it move to go from here to there to there, away from home, back home, before, after. And a key thing too is the difference between position and motion. So that if I ask you a position of a wrist, you don't say flexion. Remember that? If I ask you a position of the wrist, your instinct is to want to say flexion. But I mean, what if I was doing this and I stopped, or I took a picture while I was doing this, right? So just because I'm a flex doesn't mean I'm flexing. Just because you're east of Lafayette doesn't mean you're traveling west.
So for pictures, like what you were just talking about, are you gonna ask like what's the position but not the motion because you don't know what's in context?
I could ask motion, but I have to give you more information, right? So for that question, if I were gonna ask you a motion, what I would have to do is give you you should know the position, right? You should know the position, my elbow's flexed. And then I could add context like the elbow starts to move back to anatomical position. The elbow has to start extending. It has to have extension. And we cover this in biomechanics, so it's cool. The elbow extension that's gonna happen out here happens just with inertia. Like your tricep can't contract fast enough. It's like popping a towel. There's no muscle at the tip. It's inertia that's just kind of popping it and whipping it. So context. From here, from this position, you observe this. From this position, they do that. And the position, because it's based off of anatomical, if you say I go away, and if I say I go towards, that's how we infer motion with fixed pictures.
Could you explain?
I apologize. Did that answer that question? Awesome.
Could you explain non-axial joints and how they move?
Oh, yeah. It's so weird, huh? It's so weird. So, think of it as a tree swaying, all right? Think of it as a tree swaying. If we have a traditional, you need by, because everything's got exceptions to the rules, but if we have like a traditional joint